He's a 9-time Bassmaster Classic qualifier, a 3-time Bassmaster winner, a 3-time TTBC champion, hot off a win at the Bassmaster Opens. Keith Combs joins me this week on...
I'm Bob Cobb from the Bassmaster. Welcome to Mercer.
Well, here we go again. Welcome one, welcome all, friends, family, freeloaders, fishing freaks. You're all welcome here at the Awkwardly Honest Fishing Podcast that goes by my last name, which is Mercer. Happy Hump Day. Hope you're having a great week. It is November 16th. Hard to believe. November 16th, also, of course, the 320th day of the year. So I hope you're having a great week and an even better year. And I thank you for everything. I mean, this show, this channel continues to grow. You guys are awesome. 174,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel. So if you haven't already, go over there and subscribe, because at some point I'll actually stop asking you guys to subscribe, but it's not my fault. I have to now. Speaking of good weeks, there's 3 anglers individually that had an incredible week last week. Last week was the Bass Nation National Championship, which was on Pickwick Lake, and I want to congratulate the Bass Nation National Champion, Will Davis Jr., and also going to the Bassmaster Classic. Top 3 make it to the Bassmaster Classic. Will Diefenbach and Jonathan Dietz. So congratulations to all of you. I look forward to seeing you at the Bassmaster Classic. I partially said this so that I could congratulate you guys, and the other part is to let me know if I'm saying your name wrong before we get to the Bassmaster Classic. And I'm sure you will, or your friends and family. So congratulations to all of you. Congratulations to everyone that made it to the Bass Nation National Championship. It is one of the coolest events Bass does all year, and it's one of my favorites. I found myself watching and the coverage quite a bit, and I can't wait to see how it works out for you 3 guys at the Classic. And for our Bass Nation National Champion, Will Davis Jr., I look forward to hanging with you on the Bassmaster Elite Series next year, because that's one of the perks. And then second and third, they get entries or some setup into the Opens. So I hope that, first of all, just congratulations. And I look forward to seeing the Classic, and I hope all works out good. Congratulations to everyone that made it to that event. This week's podcast is going to be a fun one. First of all, I have to apologize. We have some connection issues, but I've wanted to have Keith Combs on here for so long, because Keith Combs is honestly one of the most entertaining dudes to hang out with while he's launching his boat in the morning, to just have a quick conversation with. But a lot of times I don't feel like people get to see that. And hopefully you get to see a little bit of that on this podcast. I mean, I will tell you this, spoiler alert, stick to the very end, because he does one of the most incredible impersonations in the history of our sport. It's one of my favorite things to get Keith to do, and I can't believe I actually convinced him to do it on this podcast. So fight through some of our connection issues, if you will. And I think you guys are about to see a different side of Keith Combs than maybe you've ever seen in the past, because he is not only a 9-time Classic qualifier and all the accolades that go with that. He's not only a 3-time winner at Bass, not only a 3-time TTBC champion. He's one of the most entertaining dudes out there, and I hope this week's show gives you just a taste of the Keith Combs that a lot of us are lucky enough to see. And I thank him for joining me right hot off a victory in the Bassmaster Opens and in the middle of hunting season. Without further ado, Keith Combs. Keith Combs, last time I saw you was in La Crosse, Wisconsin. And you told me you were going to try to win those last 2, but I mean, I guess I just didn't take you serious enough. Lo and behold, you're a Bassmaster Classic qualifier. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you, Dave. Yeah, it's a big relief to finish up the season on a high note and make that Classic.
So that's 9 classics this time. But what's different about what will be different about this classic than your first classic?
Well, the first classic, you're just trying to keep up with things. I'll be honest with you. I mean, I had fished a lot of tournaments before I made a classic, but it just seems like, and I actually, my first classic was on the Louisiana Delta, New Orleans, and it was a good tournament for me, but there's a lot of distractions in a first classic. I mean, it's just, I don't care. Somebody tells you that they didn't have that feeling, I disagree, because it's just a big week, and you're just trying to be at the right place at the right time, is on the off the water stuff, honestly, and really just to win a classic, you better be focused on the water.
Yeah. No, you hear everybody say, "Oh, it's just another tournament," and then I literally have yet to find a person that after they fish it says that again. Like going up to it, you may say those kind of things to keep yourself calm, but when it's just such a bizarrety that many people show up to watch you guys literally idle away from a dock. It's almost humbling. Like, you know what I mean? Like when I drive to the classic every year, I honestly think nobody's ever going to show up. I'm like, this is the year that nobody's going to come. And then you see the throngs of people and you're like, wow, this is freaking Bassmaster Classic.
Yeah, that it really is humbling. I remember the one at Hartwell that time where it was 7 or 10 degrees or whatever it was to take off. And a big crowd was there to watch it. So yeah, it's it's one you want to be on your best at, because all eyes are, they're on you that week. So I'm just proud to make it, and definitely looking forward to being back in it.
All right, well, let's go way back, because I feel like we've hung around each other at some really cool moments, especially in your life, and in my life too. There are cool moments for me, just didn't pay quite as well. But I don't know much about your history. When did you fish your first tournament?
I fished my first tournament at 13 years old, and that was just a local Wednesday night tournament, and didn't know really anything about. I fished all my life up to that point, but didn't know anything about tournament fishing. And from that moment on, I just became immersed in tournament fishing. I mean, I was hooked from that first event.
How did you do?
Somehow we won the tournament. I mean, you talk about dumb luck. I mean, it was, yeah. We were fishing for hybrid stripers on a local lake, and started catching bass a few days that week. Decided to sign up for this tournament, and we showed up to our spot. We won the tournament. I don't know, just happened, but it was just cool to. If we hadn't won, it wouldn't have changed anything. I mean, I was like, this is what I want to do. This is awesome. I mean, so that was really the point in my life where I knew what I wanted to do as a profession, because I didn't even know the tournament until we fished that little tournament. I knew that there was tournaments, but I didn't know, honestly, I didn't know there were guys out there making a living doing that.
So that literally, that first tournament was when you decided that screw all this other stuff, I'm going to figure out a way to do this.
Well, yeah, I mean, at 13, you're probably really not thinking about what you're going to do as far as, for the rest of your life, making a living. But I knew, I mean, we fished that tournament, and then it was just all in, as much information as I could get on tournament fishing. That's all I wanted to hear about.
So what was the reaction from the people around you? Like, did you tell people, like, after that like, I'm going to fish for a living? Or what age were you when you started publicizing your dream to your family and friends?
Yeah, right then. And for the most part, I mean, most people were probably like I was before I started studying tournament fishing. They really didn't know that was something you could do, and if it worked out, you can make a living doing that. I mean, it's just, there's so much more exposure to the sport nowadays that I think some people are still very shocked that that's what I do at this day and age for a living, but a lot more people have seen it. But at that time, it was like, for the most part, you're crazy. That's not going to work out too good. But hey, somehow it did.
It's weird. I always wonder because I think you look at tournament fishing in the last number of years, it's crazy how it's changed. Like there's a lot more kids in school saying that I'm going to be a professional angler when I grow up than there was when you were a kid. So in some ways it might have been easier because there was less competition. Now there's more competition. Like who has it easier? I don't know. The ones that have it so embraced, you know what I mean? Now you can go to college as a tournament angler or the weirdos like you and me and a bunch of other people that grew up at a time where people laughed at you when you said you were going to do this.
Well, I think it's way easier nowadays. I see what your point is about, competition, and that's a big factor because, there's only so many sponsors and those are so important. But so just for example, at 13 years old, I said, this is what I want to do. But financially, I couldn't make that happen until I was 30, 32. So it took me that long to figure a path to be fishing professional tournaments. So nowadays, I think a kid at that age, he's in high school, just starting high school, he gets the bug just like I did, but then he can, look online and all the information's there. There's more people to talk to, like a high school fishing team that understand the path that he's trying to go down and give him encouragement. So yeah, this day and age, and that's why we're seeing so many anglers in their 20s being able to get involved in the sport just because the path is so much more defined.
Yeah. And I think they just have so much more experience. They're, like it's literally, if you compare it to other sports, it's like all of a sudden there's football in high school. Could you imagine, like, if you literally had to learn football just on your own, there was no football in your grade school, no football in your high school, or insert whatever sport you want. Like, I mean, that's literally how far behind fishing is when you compare it to other things. So I just think that they're more educated. They're just tested. And they've also had pressure. You know what I mean? They've fished events that they are this close to making the classic and stuff like that. Did you have an aha moment in your life though? Like where you were like, I'm gonna do, like, you always wanted to do it, but do you have a moment where I'm sure everybody, when they start fishing, they're like, but can I, did you have a moment? Was there a moment where you were like, man, I can hang with these guys?
Oh, absolutely. And that was a big concern. I remember, I remember vividly back 15 years back being at my job and saying, man, I don't know if I better leave here on really good terms because I might be back in a year or two. Because that was what I would have to do if I didn't get out there and catch them. I'm coming right back to work. So yeah, it was very concerning. And I remember it was my first season on the FLW tour. Financially, I had a good job back then, but I made more fishing and guiding than I could have at work. And that was, looking back on that year, it was up and down. There were big fields in FLW back then. And I remember being in the 190s a couple of times, but I also had a couple of top 10s, even on places like I went to, had one in Florida, had one on Erie, made top 10s at those places. I just said, I got to get more consistent, but looking back, it's amazing that I survived because my first season this is no lie, I didn't have anything lighter than 20-pound line in my boat. Didn't have it. It was a handful of baits, didn't have a lot of equipment, and when it lined up, it worked. But I had a lot to learn at that day and age.
You took Texas to the nationals. Basically every way you'd fished at home, basically, I assume.
that's all I knew. And if it didn't work, I mean, I can remember feeling like, man, I'm not prepared. Like I said, I had one of those 190th place finishes on Lake Norman, and it's a sight fishing thing. But here, you know, it means it's find them, get the big one to bite on power fishing stuff, and move on to the next one. And there, I mean, they're just like clear water. They were just looking at my line instead of my bait, probably. And I'm like, they're like, who is this? Where's this guy from? I don't know. This isn't right. But you know, you learn fast, and you better learn fast. Right? You're gonna be out.
Yeah. And I guess that's what college fishing takes away. It knocks the 20-pound test out of everybody's boat. I mean, all of a sudden they go to a bunch, because had you fished outside of Texas, really, you know, at that point when you first jumped into it, how much time had you spent outside of Texas?
I don't think any, or maybe, yeah, maybe a tournament on the Red River, or yeah, a handful. I probably fished a couple in Oklahoma, Arkansas, and you know, just championships and things like that. But there, you can take you know, you can still take your strengths. But I've learned to be a little bit more adaptable, you know, this day and age. And I really think another thing that really decreases that learning curve is Bass Live. I mean, that is. Yeah, I mean, if you won a tournament back then, you took the money and you still had all your secrets to move on to the next one. Now, you know, it's kind of like you won and you got the money, but your secrets are gone.
Sold your secrets on Bass Live.
But you know, the other thing about that is you can learn from everybody else too. So you're giving a little, but you can't be too mad at Bass Live because you're learning. You know, you should be watching and learning too.
Yeah. No, I still remember the first day that it went live, and we all didn't know that it would even work. And I remember Zona and me and Tommy, and KVD was actually one of the color commentators at that tournament that we were using. And I just remember like the shock and all, like it was like we knew we were going to do Bass Live, but we never realized all of the pieces that were going to be consumed. You know what I mean? Like I remember watching, it was Hartwell, and I remember watching Rojas led day one, and I'm like literally watching how much he's shaking his bait and everything. And it's like, they used to know what bait you might be throwing from a picture or whatever, but now they're literally getting a blueprint to everything you're doing. As an angler, Bass Live a good thing or a bad thing?
No, it's a good thing. It's a good thing, and you know, I think that's it's that kind of stuff. You know, a few minutes ago we talked about college fishing and high school fishing, but it's that part of the puzzle that makes younger generation want to get involved. They see that, they're like, that's for me. So yeah, it's very important.
I used to hear all these legendary stories about you as being this ridiculous hours of time on the water. Like at one point, are all those tales and everything that you hear about you true, or were those just like ways for veterans to tell me that that's why you beat them at events? Because I used to literally hear all these stories about Combs, like when you were living down, you know, down on Amistad and living down on Falcon and stuff like that, like late days, you know, you were always working. Are those true?
Those are true. Those are true. I mean, like I said, for me, getting an opportunity to make a living tournament fishing, it was a one-shot deal in my mind. You know, I had enough money saved to make it through a couple of seasons. I moved to South Texas, hooked up with you know, some guides down there, and started taking some of their overflow. But like I said, the way I was viewing it, this is your one chance to get to go do what you want to do. So I moved down there. I mean, I put my house on the market for rent, moved down there with basically nothing, just my fishing equipment and a bed. Rented a 1-bedroom condo close to the boat ramp. And so, yeah, I mean, I would take customers out and it was basically like if we come in at 3, I would go back out and just learn stuff. I had a lot to learn, and I can remember like saying, well, yeah, you need to learn how to use a spinning rod or right line or something like that. And Amstead was a perfect place to go do that because it was so easy to get bit on. So yeah, it basically every daylight minute that I could spend on the water, I was there, so hey, I set myself up to have to do that. Like I said, basically I moved down there. I didn't have a TV in my house for 4 years, nothing. So there's no reason to be at home. Everything I had was on water. So that's where I spent all my time.
And that doesn't sound as shocking to people today, just because a lot of people don't have TVs. People stream things, but you were streaming nothing. You were, that was back when everybody had a TV. Doesn't matter if where you're living. And I also think that's one of the things with college, dude. I think that's where they have a huge advantage because they're all working together, but they're working together at that time. You know what I mean? Like you can only keep that pace up for so long. It doesn't matter what your job is. You know what I mean? Like you have to believe that. Like today, you're not spending near the amount of hours that you used to spend on the water, are you?
No, there's just a lot more other things. I get to do a few other things that, I missed doing for 20 years.
Yeah.
Like hunting and things like that I love to do, or sponsor obligations, things like that. So I still spend a lot of time on the water, and I make myself fish just about any tournament that I can get my hands on around Rayburn or this area, just to make sure I'm staying very sharp for the Elite Series. But yeah, that's a pace that you wouldn't want to keep up for your whole life, because that's it. You're fishing, and that's all that's all you're doing. So but for my first 8 or 10 years, that was it. Just totally focused on learning more about catching fish, and you learn stuff, and you get set in your ways too on things too, because you've done it so much and so many days on the water that's worked for you. Sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes that's a bad thing.
So are you speaking from experience about being too set in your ways in some certain occasions, or?
Yeah, well, it can hurt your consistency. It's not going to hurt your ability to win them, because that's really what you're looking for. A lot of times is you're going to take something that a technique or something like that that's really not working that well and make it work, and you might be the only guy out there doing that. So yeah, I think being stubborn is, if you analyze tournaments, which I know you have and do, being stubborn is not bad as far as trying to go out and knock one out the park, or put yourself in a top 10 position. But being stubborn is definitely not I would say not the attitude I had 6 or 10 or 12 years ago. Then it's just about go catch the most you can that day. And now I'm in a position where I feel like I can be a little more stubborn.
Yeah. And I think it's like every sport. It gets judged by the result. If somebody's stubborn and they catch nothing all day, and then they catch the 5 right fish with 30 minutes left to go, they are a freaking genius. If those fish happen to bite 30 minutes after you left, hey, you're an idiot. Why didn't you adjust? You know what I mean? It's the sad truth of sports, and fishing's even more cruel and weird, just because you know what I mean? Like you're dealing with something that you can't see. Like how insane has it driven you at times? Like I would imagine, it'd be like literally me. When I compare my job to your job, it'd be like me doing my job, except I had to guess who was next. And just through patterns, I'm assuming that Keith, I introduced you wrong. It's really whoever, Brandon Palnick. Like it really must drive you insane at times, because it feels like the harder you want it, the worse it seems to happen in some situations. Does that make sense to you?
Oh yes, absolutely it does. And that's one thing that I think turn you have to fish tournaments to really understand, or you have to bass fish a lot to understand how the smallest little thing can impact your whole tournament. I mean, from it could be a glitch in your electronics that day that cost you 20 minutes of fishing time, or it could be your boat draw. I mean, something like that, or just you misread, you misread the weather. I did that a couple times this year. We had such volatile conditions at the beginning of the season, and I'm watching the weather and trying to make educated guesses on Santee Cooper about what's going to happen, and I felt like I did, and then we had a lot of rain that just pushed a little bit of cold river water into a key area for me, and I was committed. It was away from everything else I had, and over in Marion, and I was stuck there the first day. Caught 11 pounds, but it's little things like that sometimes you guess right, sometimes you guess wrong, but if you make a little mistake, it's very hard to recover on the Elite Series.
Okay, take me back to those times when you had no TV. What is if you had to tell a story about the hardest you worked to make it in this sport, like aside from having no TV, what would explain to me your life in those times?
Well, I mean, even before I was full-time pro, like it seems nuts, but so I worked a job in a machine shop, and it was a good job. I liked the job, and I had time to fish. They worked with me on that. So there was a FLW series on Lake Okeechobee. I've never been to Okeechobee, and I got off work on a Friday I was supposed to get off at noon or something like that and hit the road. Had some meetings. Anyway, don't leave until 5 o'clock in the afternoon, drive all night. I'm on Okeechobee the next day. This is for practice. So I left on a Friday from Texas, drove to Okeechobee, got there midday Saturday, got a few bites, and had to come back on Sunday. So I drove to Florida it was a little window of opportunity. Drove more than I fished just to see that place before the off limits. So that was it seemed like a good idea at the time. And I did. I had a third place finish that week on Okeechobee in my first crack at Florida. So it was a good call looking back. You tell people that, they're going to be like, you're an idiot. But, it made sense to me at the time.
How long of a drive is that from Texas to Okeechobee?
It was. I was in Central Texas at the time, so it's about a 16 or 17-hour drive.
A quick 16-hour drive. And so how many hours did you fish, you think?
I got there on that Saturday and fished till, fished all day on Saturday till dark, and a little bit on Sunday morning before I had to get back on the road and be back at first thing Monday morning.
What was your job?
So I worked at a company that made hydraulic cylinders for, mostly road construction equipment and things like that. And I had, at the time I was a supervisor there. But yeah, right out of school, I started the machine shop job, and it was good because they knew I was there to eventually go fishing. So they kind of followed it and everything, and worked with me on getting off enough to hit at least a local tournament scene. And we did that hard for about 10 or 15 years. It was, if there was a tournament in the state of Texas on a Saturday, we were there. And, it might be East Texas, and Sunday we were in South Texas fishing another one. So I got a lot of on the water time just because of where I live, and we have so many tournaments down here.
One of the things that a lot of people say, and I think I totally agree, that one of the mistakes in this sport is people will jump levels. You know what I mean? They'll have a good run in the elites or in the opens up till this coming year. You have to fish all 9, but they fish 3 opens, do well, qualify for the Elite Series, and they fish. And then you talk to people from their local area, and they're like, "Yeah, I don't even know that angler. Not that that's anything wrong with them, but it just shows you that day in, day out, the guys who dominate at their local area have a lot better shot of hanging at the Elite Series. But this is a sport where you can jump levels, unlike baseball or football or anything like that. How important is that in your mind?
Well, yes, and I've seen that in the Open sometimes. I keep up with really all things bass fishing. So I've seen certain schedules. Like a few years ago, we had one that it was like a northern that might be Oneida, Thousand Islands, Cayuga, something like that. So it's a lot of good fishing up there, but really regional. So if a guy's really good in that area, he's going to make it. Or, there was one where it was just like a Red River, Atchafalaya Basin, and Toledo Bend. So guys in that region that really know those places, they're going to make the elites. But for the most part, it's been spread out enough to, I think maybe once in a while there's somebody who gets in through the Opens and they're a little overwhelmed for whatever reason. I mean, it could be, you have to be all in once you're on the Elite Series. If you're trying to run, if you're trying to run a business and your time is split in practice, making phone calls and trying to find bass, I can't imagine trying to do that, because I feel like you have to be so focused. That's all you can think about is finding that pattern.
One of the things that we've got to share a lot of history together is the TTBC, the Toyota Texas Bass Classic, as some people used to call it, the Keith Combs benefit tournament. I mean, you won 3 of them and had an incredible run. But I mean, that event, how important was that event in building the legend that is Keith Combs?
Those were huge for me. That financially, to get you going in the right direction, that was a big payday with no entry fee. So those were really set up. Those were great tournaments. But I feel like there were very high profile events too. Not to classic level, but they were. I mean, you had a stellar field, and it also it pitted the back then, like the FLW Tour, PAA, and the Elite Series kind of against each other. Made a great storyline there. So people were keeping up with the TTBCs just to, because there's always that debate. Well, FLW Tour guys are the best fishermen. Now the Elite guys are the best fishermen. So it kind of, I think it had that in it. But those were good events for me. And it just hasn't been. I mean, we've had some tournaments on Toledo Bend, Rayburn, Falcon, places that I was real familiar with, but those tournaments set up really good in my wheelhouse. Like I said, they're in the fall, and I grew up fishing every year to make it to fall championships to go try to win boats and win big prizes. Those were fall time events where it felt like it was the same kind of vibe, like it's those big team championships we grew up fishing. Going to go fish for a lot of money, and you're going to go catch 6 or 7 bass. That's the goal. If you're catching more than that, it's a waste of time, So fishing for big ones all day long.
You caught some big ones. You had a pretty good run. 2 wins in Conroe, right? And 1 in Fork. I think people think it was all Fork. And the weird thing is, every time you talk about different leagues nowadays, there's people they'll make comments like, what, they should all come together and have a championship. And I'm like, yeah, that happened. It happened for 10 years. And it still didn't settle anything. Everybody still argued that this person or that person was better, or they didn't really want to focus on it. They were into hunting at that. I mean, there was just every story. But one of the most storied events was your fish off with Mike Iaconelli. And the ironic and weird thing is, dude, I don't think we've ever talked about it. Me and you, like after, I mean, that all went, it was just so weird. Like you both came up on the stage. I think you both kind of felt like you either want, you're about to win this tournament and it was a tie. and I wish that happened. I wish the technology was what it was today. You know what I mean? Because you guys just kind of went out in the water and they made a bit of a TV show with it, but it would have been so incredible to be able to watch that all go down live. But you were in a sudden death fish off. How does that feel? Like, take me through like when you first heard about it on stage and what that whole process was like to be the angler in it.
Well, leading up to that fish off, I felt like like the first day I had 28 pounds on Conroe in the fall, Lake Conroe that's fishing very tough, and took a lead. And then the next day I went out there and I know I caught him really good that day too. And there was a couple other bags around 20 pounds. The second day I went out and I think I caught 5 bass. The first day I might've caught 6. This next day I caught 5 bass. And I remember late in the day catching a 7-pounder and you could listen to it in that tournament. If you wanted to, you could listen to it on your radio,
on the radio.
Your phone. So you could keep up with what other anglers were doing. I didn't do that, but I caught my last 7 or 8 pounder, and Randy Howe was fishing down the bank, and he said, "You're catching them again today, huh?" I said, "Man, yeah," because that gave me another 26 or 27 pound bag. Well, he said, "Your little buddy's catching them too." So don't let up. And he's talking about Mike. So I'm like, gosh, man. Because when I put that fish in the boat, I was like, that's it. I'm going to go out tomorrow and be able to fish for 10 pounds. Well, Mike didn't let that happen. He caught him. He brought it again. And I think I went out with a little lead going into the third day. To put it into perspective, we were in a fish off tied at like 75 or 78 pounds or something like that. And third, and the next guy was, I think it was Odd the Foe. And I think Odd had like less than 50. So we got to go fish for one fish for $150,000 prize. And either one of us should have won that thing. Well, I bet he was feeling the same way I was feeling, like, this just doesn't make sense. How do we both catch these tremendous bags? And now this is going to win this thing, but anyway, we're on stage. I had heard some chatter backstage that y'all are tied because the weights were recorded. We weighed them on the boat, so everybody else knew. And I'm like, surely not. Surely not. Well, it was a tie. Tournament director says, you were the tournament director, and you're the one who announced that. Hey, I
wasn't the tournament director. I was just the announcer.
You're the MVP, Dave.
Oh,
so
God.
You said, you know what the rule is? Neither of us knew the rule. And you said we're going to have to go back out for a fish off. And I'm like, holy crap, what's this going to be like? Fish till dark. Whoever catches the first keeper wins. And I remember me and Mike were backing down the ramp side by side, and I look at his boat, and he's got like 60 rods, little everything, crankbaits, jigs, finesse baits. I got a crankbait and a jig, and literally nothing else in my boat. Like I said, I was all in on trying to catch 5 big ones, and now we got to go catch the first 2-pounder. Yes, I'm thinking, man, I'm going to lose this thing. I'm totally not prepared for this, but here we go. He peels off like on the dam, throwing a finesse worm, and I'm running, brush piles for 7-pounders, and somehow I got one before he did. But stressful, my gosh, that was stressful.
Yeah, well, I remember the feeling too, and I had to believe you had that feeling too. Like, Ike at that time is probably the worst dude to a one fish off. You know what I mean? Like, it's still today. You know what I mean? If you literally just need to catch fish quick, he is one of those dudes who is willing to do that. And I remember being on shore and hearing, Keith's gone back to where he's been catching them, and everyone was like, what is he? Ike's going to get one. But I also remember, I don't know how long it was, but I remember it was a while, because I remember like we were so weird that now we can just pick up our phone and watch it all go down. But back then we were all huddled around these radios waiting for somebody, and they check with the judges and they're like, yeah, no, nothing yet. How long did it last?
I'd say we got back out there around 4:30 or 5 o'clock, got to fishing immediately. And it was going to be till dark. If nobody called one before dark, we're going to go back the next morning. And I'm running around, hitting these brush piles and hard spots and things to catch a big one. And I think we've probably been fishing an hour and a half or so, and it's getting late. It's getting dark. And I'm thinking, man, he's going to catch one anytime. I was so intense. I remember hooking fish and just reeling as fast as I could to get that thing in the boat, because I was scared the phone was going to ring, and he got one quicker than I did. And I looked the fish in the boat, and I'm like, I could tell it was a keeper. I could tell it was probably a 16-inch fish. I remember just like telling my judge, man, check it quick, because I didn't want the phone to ring. And he's calling. I got him calling while he's measuring. And tournament director says, "You won." I'm like, and I got a death grip on this fish. I'm like, I'm not letting him go till you tell me this is it. And this is it, right? I remember asking Randy Knight, I was like, and that's it, right? I can throw it back, or what do I do with this there? But gosh, that's probably the most stressful format you could put two guys through.
Yeah. I know it's stressful and painful, but gosh, I would love to see it happen live. You know what I mean? Like then that is, I believe that's our rule now in the Elite Series. Like it's a sudden death fish off if there's a tie, and it'll be live. And I mean, that's the kind of, that's magic, because you couldn't turn it off, because you're like, if you get 3 hours and the best limit that comes back in 3 hours of the biggest fish or whatever, I mean, you can check in with that. But if it's sudden death, that feeling you're feeling on every cast, that's what the viewer would be feeling. And obviously the video of Ike's reaction is out there. It may have got more plays than your reaction. But I've always heard, and I've never confirmed this with Ike, but I feel like it's probably true. And I will confirm it with Ike, but I'd always heard that, like, so he smashes his rod off the thing, and then he goes to throw it, but he realizes his crankbait's still connected, so he has to cut the line, and he fires his rod, part of his rod, in the water. But I've always heard that some dude got said rod and brought it waited for him at the dock to sign when he came in, because he didn't come in right away. He stayed out in the water for a while having some aquatic therapy, I believe.
I believe he did. And I can totally understand, because like I said, we both of us should have won that tournament. But yeah, I've heard the same thing. I think he threw his rod up on the back. I went and got it autographed.
Yeah.
Maybe he's listened to this and he'll send us a picture of that signed rod. Pretty cool. But I can't blame. I mean, hey, he's Mike's pretty emotional all the time type of guy. So especially on the water, but I can understand. I mean, man, just think about that. Like, we both are leading by this tremendous amount. We both should have won, and now it comes down to who catches the first stinking fish. I mean, it's a pressure cooker on the Elite Series. But I mean, really, how many times have you ever seen that happen, where a guy is 28 pounds over the next guy?
No, it doesn't happen often.
It doesn't ever happen. So,
no.
That was a cool tournament.
And then the build up, I believe the year previous, Ike was second as well. So it was even more, and he had a second in the Classic, and it was a lot of pressure at that event. But you made it back and won the event, and made it back before. I remember there was a big, like, is he going to be back before the Robert Earl Keen concert is over? I think is that who was playing that night? Do you remember?
I do. It was.
Yeah, because he waited to sing 5 Pound Bass,
right?
Which is awesome.
Good time. Yeah, gosh, man, I'm thinking back of remembering that event. It was a big week for me. I mean, I won a big tournament. I think I'd won a PAA the week or the fall or something before, or a few months before that, or maybe the year before. So I'd won something that was, as far as competition wise, was really substantial in my mind. But that one there really kind of helped me get some momentum under me and some sponsors. So that was a big week for me.
Yeah, it was. Those tournaments were so much fun. I feel like in a lot of ways they were ahead of their time. Like if we did it again today with the technology and everything, it would probably be, even cooler. But those were some incredible events. So for those of you wanting the World Championship of Fishing, it's happened, and it didn't settle anything, it turns out. People still argued whether that's the weird thing about all the change with MLF. It's like, this isn't new. This happened before. Like a bunch of dudes left to go to FLW, and I mean, not the mass exodus that happened, a few years ago, but I mean, that argument, I don't think that argument will ever go away, will it? I mean, there's always going to be circuits, and there's always going to be one that thinks they're better than the other.
Yeah. And in the end, it really doesn't even matter, but that used to be a big debate because, before I was part of it, I remember thinking the same thing, because I was really deciding on which direction I wanted to go. But yeah, and they've had such a contrasting format. It's just been a different kind of character for the last few years. But yeah, like you say, it's I think there's only so many ways to go have a bass tournament, and for guys that have been in the game for a long time, it's not a lot of new stuff you're seeing. It's just trying it in a different era, with different technologies and things like that. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting dynamic. But yeah, you're really debating on this group is better than this group, or it's not really worth time. But it was a cool tournament. I think we should have them again right here in East Texas. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you do believe we should have them again. And I agree. I'd love to see that kind of deal happen again down the road. What's the most important trait to be a successful tournament angler in your mind? Like if you were weird science, you're designing a future Bassmaster Classic champion, what is the first trait you embed in that person? Doesn't have to be your traits. Just if you're making a stone cold killer on the Elite Series, what's the first trait you would make sure that person has?
Man, what a question. You should have went over that before we started. Gosh, there's a lot. I mean, I believe to win them, you really have to play to your strengths a lot of times. I believe that. I mean, so I would definitely not say versatility is a trait of a winner. Maybe a AOI type situation, but you're asking about a Bassmaster Classic winner, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Well, I haven't won it, so I don't know but I would definitely say just focus. Focus has got to be the key thing, because looking back over all the classics that I've been a part of or kept up with, it's hardly anybody leads the whole thing from day to day. It's swapping every day, and every classic it's going to be close weights, just because the way it sets up, it's going to be close weights. So think about how many guys have lose the classic every single time it rolls around. 2 or 3 or 4 guys, they lose it. One guy can keep it together. Yeah, he catches everything that bites him. He's making the adjustments that he needs to, because he's thinking this thing through. He's not getting caught up in some camera guy saying, "Hey, hold it up." No, he's put it in the well and he's casting again. So I'd say focus has got to be your number one thing to win them.
Why do you think we don't see people go wire to wire a lot at the Classic? Is it just the media pressure and everything, or is it? Why do you think it's less likely than what you even see in an Elite Series? I mean, I know it only happens once a year, but it doesn't happen a lot at the Classic where they go wire to wire, especially in the last 10 years.
Right. The season, you know, that pre-spawn wintertime type of season, you'll have, and somebody is just gonna go. So if they're, I think you just, I don't know. In the Classic, you just sometimes you just want to feel like, man, I just want to make a good showing here. And you go out the first day and everything falls into place. But a few guys are going to they're going to have a good game plan and they're going to be consistent. And, you know, maybe somebody goes out and throws down 20 the first day, but there's that one or two guys that are they're on that 15 to 17, and you know they do their thing the first day, and they do a good job of learning from each day to make those little adjustments, you know, on the second day. I think season is a big part there, because we have, you know, and we're going to see it again in Knoxville. We're probably not going to have consistency throughout that tournament. We're going to have a cold front to deal with. I can almost guarantee you that. We're probably going to have a lot of river flow changes throughout the event. Who knows what? So I think because we're in that pre-spawn time where we, you know,
Yeah.
it used to be in the fall where things are consistent. A guy can grab a big lead and carry that through. But we really haven't been on a lot of fisheries for the Classic lately where you could do that either. You know, like a Hartwell, you're not going to catch 25 pounds and just ride that to the win.
Yeah.
Or Knoxville.
I feel like you're a good pick going into Knoxville. I feel like you might fly under the radar and you might not want anyone to pick you, but I think you did pretty good there last time we were there, didn't you?
I did. Man, the first few times I went there and fished the FLW tour, that was my least favorite lake, but I still caught them. I just didn't like it. But over the years, it's been a good place for me. Never really been in contention to win one. But I was learning as I went along in that last Elite, and actually lost about a 4-pound fish that kept me just out of the top 10 in that one. But I like it. I feel like it's a type of place that I understand a little bit more about than a Hartwell or something like that.
It'll be exciting. It'll be exciting. I think it's the perfect Classic city. I mean, but I just think that the fishing is tough. You know what I mean? It's not going to be easy, but that also, to me, that's part of the Classic. You know what I mean? Or it has become part of the Classic. And that, like you said, time of year, what would a Keith Combs Classic victory look like in your head? Have you, I mean, you have to have thought about it, visualized it. No?
Oh yeah. Well, a lot actually. It'd be crazy not to, you know, you gotta have something to keep you going, keep you dry. Man, I'd like to it'd probably be pretty low key, win, do everything on the stage, and then just go chill. I don't think I want to go having a big party or nothing crazy like that. I mean, I'm not that kind of guy, but yeah, I would just, I just want to soak that in, you know, man, just win it and just go take it easy, and just that's the ultimate goal. I mean, if you can win that in your career, what do you do from there?
Yeah, I think that's one of the weird things about media nowadays too. Like I feel like whenever anyone wins, I mean, Jason Christie slayed the dragon, won the Classic this past year. It wasn't 24 hours, not 24 freaking hours. And I heard people starting to talk about, oh, he could get a few, you know, when's Christie's next Classic win? I'm like, can he not breathe? Like, I just think that the media just were so absorbed with records and you know what I mean? It's like, it's headlines, you know what I mean? And I mean, winning one Bassmaster Classic in your career is pretty freaking good. You should at least get 24 hours to enjoy it before the media starts telling you when are you going to win another one.
Yeah, I would probably try to stay out of that. Just, hey, that's from me and my friends and my family. Let's enjoy this, because it's yeah, you might win 5 or 10, or a guy might do something like that someday. Who knows? But that's just that's an important moment. You have to realize that's an important moment. You're probably not going to get it more than once in a guy's career. So I think yeah, I want to block that part of it out. I'll call you in a couple of days. Right now, I'm just going to soak this in.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine what it's like to win an event like that. Just the amount of, like, you see the amount of pressure that is on the person instantly, and it's what you dream of, and I really would respect a person to do exactly what you said. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like you get they win the Classic, and then they're just bombarded with a bajillion like podcasts and everything else out there. I mean, take a minute and soak this in, because you know what? Those podcasts will still be here in a week. And I think it's bred into a tournament fisherman. You're so hungry your whole life to get exposure, to get, you know what I mean? That moment that you feel like, well, I've got it. I got to do it now. Is that a correct way? Am I reading it right?
Yeah. You don't want to squander that moment, because we all have a lot of sponsors and things like that to endorse and make sure people understand the full story. And you certainly wouldn't want to look back on it in, okay, well, a guy could, and there's even been a couple guys that have won major events, and they're totally not. I say that, I say what I said there, that I would want to enjoy it for my friends and my family and myself, because it's such an important moment. But at the same time, the media is also what is going to tell your story, and that's also important, because you don't want to win that thing and not work with the media. Certainly not work with the media good enough for you to get everything out of it. And I'm not just talking about financially. I mean, it's like we talked about in those TTBCs. Those were big events, but they probably didn't get the exposure that they deserve. Bassmaster Classic is going to get the exposure. It's going to get whatever you want out of it if you can win it. So, yeah, I'd probably try to find a happy medium. But honestly, if you got to understand from a tournament fisherman's perspective, I'm talking, just like I always do, just 100% what comes out of my head, but when you have finished a Bassmaster Classic, I don't care if you won it or top 10 or you finished, 20th, you should be very tired at the end of that third day. It's been a long week, and you put a lot into that. And like I said, it goes back to focus, and that will drain you. If you can focus through that practice period, all of those off days, meeting days, media days, dinners with your friends, sponsors, family, all that stuff, and then go out and fish 3 days and win that thing, you should be drained completely out.
Yeah, it's an all-encompassing. I mean, the biggest feeling you hear throughout the week is people being like, let's go fishing. Like, there's so many, functions and things you have to be. And that's what, it's a celebration. It's like a literal long week. But yeah, I agree with you. You should be exhausted, but don't worry. Don't take my comments as fact, because if you win the Classic this year, Keith, I will be telling you, asking you to come on this little podcast at some point so we can talk about it. What's your favorite food?
It's got to be a real good steak. That's big, like a real nice ribeye or something like that. That's definitely my favorite type of food. Also, we enjoy going north and getting like walleye and things like that too. Northern perch. Those are some of my favorite dishes.
All right. Favorite movie?
My favorite one is Lawless. You seen that?
I don't know. Who's in Lawless?
I don't know the actors' names, but
Lawless. I'll look it up. It's a good movie.
Yeah, you like
Okay, that's
Lots of fun.
it's something I'd like. Okay, favorite song.
I don't know if I have a favorite one. Kind of started listening to more like local, or not local, more like Texas, like Red Dirt type music, and I'll just listen to that when I'm driving. And kind of, I don't think I have a favorite one, but just anything in that family.
Your answers are very Texas centric. I mean, it's exactly what I'd expect from a guy. I like a ribeye. um, I like red dirt country.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Why do so many great anglers come from your part of the world? Like if you look at the Texas, like so, and I don't. There's a specific type of angler like comes from Texas. I feel like like if I look at you, Kelly Jordan, Lee Livesey, you know what I mean? And there's a lot of others that I'm leaving out, so do not yell at me for it. Todd Faircloth. You've got a very specific, like you all specialize in catching giants. You know what I mean? Obviously that's a Texas thing, but there is even personality wise, everything that kind of quiet until it's time to make some noise type personality. Why are so many good anglers from that part of the world?
I think well, there's a bunch of really good Texas sticks out there for sure. But I think there's a bunch that grew up in my era, just living those team tournaments, and all the guys you just mentioned, and a lot more. Clark Wendlandt. I mean, the list goes on and on. But yeah, we were exposed to, it's a tradition almost in Texas. Lots of tournaments, lots of big team events, lots of dudes out there fishing those team events and winning them that are just as good and would perform just as well on the Elite Series as we do. But I think you'll see it change. I mean, I bet you'll see people from less regional becoming accomplished, professionals, just because so much has changed in the sport. But I think, yeah, it was just so much, just like for me, having that availability, fish all year long. There was just a tournament that rolled around, caught my attention, and I was all in, probably because of where I live, but we have a ton of lakes too. That's another thing that, so no matter where you grow up in Texas, there's bass fishing, good bass fishing very close by. I go to other places and it's just not like that. There's not as many lakes, or maybe there's one really good lake in the whole state. I mean, there's a couple states like that. So I think we've had a lot more opportunity to get exposed to the sport of bass fishing, but that's changing just because of, live and college fishing, things like that.
Yeah, I've looked up Lawless while you were talking there, and it's a very the movie poster makes it just seem like like it's a modern day Tombstone or something like that, or a modern day remake of type of movie. Like is it a Western type movie, Keith?
Mm-mm. It's like a gangster kind of type movie, but old, like Prohibition era.
Yeah.
But it's got three brothers in it, and they're total opposites, and man, they play some bad dudes in that movie.
I like it. I'm gonna have to check it out. I feel like I'm gonna watch it and then I'll be like, I've seen this movie, because I'm an idiot that way. Like when I travel around, I'm like, I don't think I've ever flown into this airport, and then I land and I'm like, oh no, I remember that place and that place. So there's a good chance I've seen it, but I'm just not. My mind is dominated by statistics about anglers like yourself. I don't have time for other people's birthdays and movie names, I guess. I don't know. One of my favorite things that you do, and I don't know if you're willing to do it for me here today, is, and I've told you before, well, I'm going to ask you because, I mean, it'll make a good ender to this, even if you do hang up. You do an incredible Mark Davis impersonation. Will you adorn the viewers with your Mark Davis? No,
I don't know that I can. I don't know that I can bring it in this. I think it's just,
I don't know that you
this whole
can't,
thing's
though.
been too much for me. Well, it's important. So, okay, like I said, I follow everything tournament fishing since I've been 13 years old, and I can remember. So Mark Davis, I grew up in that era where he won Bassmasters Classics, AOYs on both sides. He was winning on FLW. He's winning on the Bassmaster before it was the Elite Series. Kind of like did the same thing Jay Ellis did. I was like, dude, this guy's winning over here. He's winning over here. So Mark was the man, and he's from right over in Arkansas. So, you know, I grew up listening to that dude winning them and replaying those. I was DVRing them and recording them on VHS tapes. Mark Davis catching bass. So I watched a lot of Mark Davis growing up. So that's how I learned Mark Davis imitation.
What would Mark Davis say about this podcast?
Well, Dave, you know, it's been fun talking to you, but these questions are getting a little old, and I think it's time for me to go.
The greatest Mark Davis. You're a better Mark Davis than Mark Davis. It's so good. It's so good. And dude, nobody ever sees that side of you. I mean, I really just want to do the rest of this podcast as you as Mark Davis.
No, nobody's a better Mark Davis than Mark Davis. He's the man. And I grew up watching him and envying all of his all the things he's taught us.
He really is the man. And I think that Mark Davis would tell you that, I mean, aside from getting a case of the Mully Grubs, you were straight at that was freaking Mark Davis. And it's one of the most, I mean, how many hours have you practiced to become Mark Davis? Or was it just you've watched enough of it that it happens?
Yeah, when you watch it, you watch him winning tournaments all the time, you're like, I kind of like the way that guy talks.
Do you do any other impersonations? Or even if you do, you're probably going to say no right now, right?
I got to get through this whole Mark Davis thing. I mean, he may beat me up. I don't know.
No.
Let's just see how this one goes.
No, he'll just be like, Keith, you gave me a case of the Mully Grubs.
Well, it can happen. It can happen.
It can happen. Well, Keith Combs, you are awesome. I appreciate you doing this with me. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you and whatever voice comes out of your mouth when we go to the Bassmaster Classic.
It's been fun, Dave, and I appreciate you having me on. And I look forward to getting this next season rolling. I guess I'll be seeing you for the next time in Florida before too long.
Yeah. I'll see you there. Have a good off season. Enjoy hunting and take us out with a little more Mark Davis, please. Just one more. Say goodbye to the folks. Here's what Mark Davis would be perfect at. Tell Bob Cobb to take it away from the Bassmasters. You're not.
Bob, take it away.
So awkward, but so wonderful. Thank you, Keith Combs.
Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe because Bob Cobb of the Bassmasters told you to. You hear?